Paulina is here. You are absolutely beautiful. I'm a huge fan.
Oh, thank you very much. And
Yeah.
you're absolutely beautiful too.
I don't know about that with these lips right now. I just told her.
They are definitely plump, but
Listen.
they are definitely not distracting or unpretty.
I saw my wife this morning, and then she left for a bit, and then the next time I saw her was in the studio with these lips, and I was, whoa.
Listen, it's a lot right now, but it'll look good in 2 days. I would love for you to talk about being born into the Cold War era and really talk about what was happening during your birth and the upbringing.
Okay, so my birth I can't remember, sorry, the actual birth. But yeah, being born in a communist country. So it's interesting because, you know, when you are a child, the situation that you grow up in is just normal to you. That's where you grow up. Like, I didn't know it was different anywhere else in the world. So for me, you know, living 7 of us in a 1-bedroom house and having no new clothes, getting a banana and a bag of peanuts for Christmas was, you know, that was normal. It was like bananas were precious. Literally 1 banana a year for Christmas. It was a big deal. My grandmother standing in line to get milk at, you know, 3 o'clock in the morning so that I would get some milk. Food was mostly potatoes and things made out of flour. Dumplings, which I still to this day love, and then like really, really overcooked vegetables, which we called sauce. And yeah, there was one dusty Barbie in a shop window in our toy store in our little town, and I would pass this dusty Barbie for like my entire childhood, just looking at her and so wishing that she would be mine, that I could have that Barbie. And she got progressively dustier and dustier. But like she, to me, was the symbol of like, of something that we didn't have a lot of, which was pretty and shiny and glamorous and, you know, fairy tale like. Only Christmas was like that.
Did you know, you said you kind of didn't know at the time, but did you have any context that getting a banana for Christmas was different or none?
No. But banana for Christmas was, you know, that was like if you were lucky.
So at what point did you decide, okay, I want to do something really big with my life? Was it very young? Did it come later?
Oh, I, in all honesty, never had that thought in my life. Ever. I'm 57 now, and I still have never thought I want to do something really big with my life.
So how were you approached when you were young? How did
All right,
that happen?
so the story goes, so I'm born in a communist country. My parents left me behind when they were fleeing the Soviet occupation in 1968, very much like what happened in Ukraine last year.
And left you behind with a relative, or?
Left me behind with my grandmother, yeah.
Okay.
So I was raised by my grandmother, who sort of turned out to be my real, you know, my mom. Then my mom came back to kidnap me. It didn't succeed. She was put in jail. She was in house arrest for 3 years. It was a whole big mess again. You can totally read about on Wikipedia.
When you say kidnap you, was it because your grandmother you didn't want to go, or she didn't want to go? Like,
no, because my parents fled. They were criminals for fleeing the country illegally, and I as a you know, Czechoslovakian citizen was not allowed abroad. So there was no way for my parents to get me. They lived in Sweden and there was no way to get me. So essentially, if they hadn't tried something, they would not have, their daughter would be lost.
okay.
And when you were little, did you want to go back with your mother, or were you content with being with your grandma?
I was totally fine being with grandma. I didn't, you know, my parents left when I was 3, so I was kind of little. And so I was, you know, I was used to my grandmother, and I was actually perfectly happy in my little
And what about your
house.
siblings?
Well, at that point, I didn't have siblings. When my mother came back to kidnap me, she was 6 months pregnant with my baby brother. And so then I was suddenly given the gift of not only a mother I didn't really know, but also a baby brother. You know, and that sort of came together. That happened at the same time when I was 7 years old. And when I was 9, we got kicked out of the country, moved to Sweden. And that's when I realized that bananas were not that rare. You could actually have a whole bowl of them rotting on the countertop. This is where I discovered there was not only one dusty Barbie in the shop window for the children to like look at as though she was in a museum, but they were actually for sale. That was really amazing to me, really cool.
And at what point did your parents continue to have children?
That's it. Me and my little brother.
Okay. And so did you sort of get discovered in Sweden?
Oh, so yeah. So now I'm in Sweden. I'm 9 years old. I don't speak the language. I have to learn to speak the language, obviously. I was sort of mercilessly bullied in school because I was from a communist country. So, of course, you have that, dirty communist label printed on your forehead. And I had 3 friends. Thank God I had 3 friends. It's amazing what friends can do for you. These 3 girls that, one had really severe acne, one was really overweight, and one was just a weirdo who liked to hang out with us and study Roman history and listen to classical music, which was cool. And one of those girls was really interested in fashion, and she wanted to do makeup. She wanted to be a makeup artist. So she would use me and the 2 other girls to to do our faces, do makeup on us, and then take a little Kodak Instamatic pictures of us, and then we'd all wait until we had enough money to pull it together to get them developed and then see what we had gotten. And at some point, she saw a newspaper ad in the local newspaper that said, like advertising like a modeling school. It was like a small-time local little agent, this older woman who had once been a hand and foot model, I believe, who probably needed a little extra money. So she was advertising a modeling school. Learn how to walk, how to apply your makeup. And my girlfriend sent in those Kodak Instamatic pictures to her going, I really want to be a professional makeup artist. And how do I go about it? And the woman got back to her going, who's that girl? How old is she? How tall is she? How much does she weigh? And so my girlfriend set up a meeting with me and this lady. And the lady, we met at a hamburger stand. And she said, I want to introduce you to John Casablanca, who's coming into town 2 weeks from now, mall. He's doing some sort of a model contest in a Danish mall. And so she took me to meet him. I was 14 and a half. He literally spent maybe 2 minutes with me. He looked at me. He went, you have beautiful skin. Would you like to go to Paris? And I was like, yeah.
And did you know at this point that you were exceptionally beautiful? Like, were people staring at you when you walked by or at school?
I think you missed the part about me getting really bullied in school.
What were they bullying you
but
for?
maybe they were bullying you because you were exceptionally beautiful. You didn't know at all that you were beautiful?
How would you know that you're beautiful if everybody tells you you're ugly?
That's so crazy to me. So even when you were recruited to go to Paris, you still did not think, oh my God, I'm beautiful?
God, no. I thought they had made a tremendous mistake. Somebody needed a new pair of glasses. But I was so, I thought it was an opportunity I couldn't possibly turn down. So yeah, I was going to go to Paris and try this out. But I knew they were going to send me back in the first week. Like that was granted that somebody had made a mistake. I would arrive in Paris and they would just go, okay, whoever invited you, you just go back to Sweden. So no, I had zero sense of what I looked like. I saw myself the way other people saw me. I thought I was ugly, so thought I'm ugly, but so I'll be really smart. So I read a lot of Roman history and listened to classical music. So that was me.
What point in your life, there had to be a point where you realized though you were beautiful?
Maybe now. 57,
wow, that is so
now.
crazy.
Yeah.
To me, like you're one of the most beautiful models on the planet, and that's so crazy that you, when you were younger, and even when you get to Paris, that you didn't have an epiphany that you were beautiful.
God, no, I felt like an imposter the entire time. Like I was just waiting for somebody to come to their senses and send me back home for years and years and years. And then, like obviously, ultimately, I had been modeling for 3 or 4 years, and then I came to the United States. I got the cover of Sports Illustrated, and everybody kept telling me I was beautiful. So the way I sort of equalized that in my head was that it's not really about me. It's about people's perception of me, because when I was in Sweden at 15, one day I was called ugly and nobody wanted a date with me, and I had my head stuck in a toilet. And then a week later, I was called beautiful and getting money for being beautiful. Like, it made no sense to me. And so I justified it as, well, actually, rightly so. It wasn't about me. It was about the people that were looking at me.
When you got to Paris, what was something that surprised you about entering into this world of modeling?
Oh, pretty much everything. I mean, it was a completely different world from anything I had ever experienced. I mean, I was a kid in middle school, and then suddenly I'm in Paris, and I get invited, to evenings out with like French movie stars and, discotheques and, and then going to work, where I'm supposed to represent a sort of an ideal of what a woman is supposed to look like. And I'm 15. I don't have a freaking idea what a woman is supposed to look like.
So how did you sort of learn the ropes of modeling? Was there someone that you had that was a mentor, or did you just look around and just fake it until you make it?
Yeah, no, it's pretty much you get thrown into the pool head first and then see if you can swim or sink. I mean, like I started with a lot of other girls. I was the only 15-year-old. There was a bunch of 16-year-olds that came in, and they all got sent home at the end of the summer. And I was the only one that did so well that I stayed on.
Was it because of work ethic or discipline? What do you think was the mixture there?
Luck.
Now, oh my gosh, you're so cool.
And I'm photogenic.
Okay, there we go. You're photogenic. Okay,
yeah,
there's
I'm
something.
Photogenic. The specific angles and planes and mathematics of my face looked good on a photo, which, by the way, is not as flattering as you think it is when somebody comes up to you and goes, "God, you're so beautiful in your pictures."
No. Oh my gosh. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask, coming from a communist country, and a lot of people here feel like they're oppressed, and I'm not one way or the other. But when you come from that background and that perspective, do you have what is the difference in perspective now? Because I'm assuming that since you've seen such two different ways of life, that it's so informative in so many different ways for you.
Well, you know what? I was born in a communist country, but then I moved to Sweden, which was possibly the most gender equal country in the world in the 70s. So I lived there. That's where I learned to be a young woman, and that's where I learned about sexuality and about my body. And it was all about, being free and nude, and sex was great for you. And in school, they taught you that you should masturbate because it's healthy for you. And then I moved to France, where sex was a weapon and women were manipulative and beautiful and men adored them. And then I moved to the United States, where all of it was dirty. So I've sampled a lot in my life, 4 different cultures, 4 different languages, 4 different histories of countries. So I feel like I have a fairly good, my world is pretty big, because I've gotten to sample a lot of it.
What's your favorite world to sample out of all 4 of those? What's the most fun?
It's comparing apples and oranges.
I guess what I'm saying is because if you come from, that type of culture and then to like the most open culture, I imagine that's such a shock in some kind of way, because you don't even like when you get to a place that's that open and that free, when you come from a place that's not, I imagine that's...
Which one are you talking about?
I know
that's open and free.
Yeah, she's saying that the United States is very...
No, I'm talking about when you first moved to Sweden.
Okay, so that was a little bit of a shock, but it was also, I was 9 when I left the Czech Republic, so I didn't have much understanding of like sex and, and like turning into a young woman. So all of that came to me when I was in Sweden. I didn't really have a comparison. It wasn't until like years later, I wrote an op-ed for the New York Times about it about 4 years ago, about being a woman in 4 different countries and how different you are treated as a woman in these 4 different countries.
When you look back on your modeling days at the peak of your success in modeling, what is something that you think would surprise our audience about that experience? Something you look back on and you think, oh my gosh, that's so crazy that we did that, or something shocking.
You know what? Every single day of my life was a bunch of different people. It was a new setting. It was new people. It was... every day was being a new kid in school. So out of all the thousands of days I did, it's kind of a hard call, because every day was different from the day before. It's not like you had a routine where you worked in one place and then one thing sticks out. It's like, no, every day is radically different. I think the most memorable event in modeling to me happened when I was shooting a bikini in a waterfall where I had to swim across a lake. The photographer wanted me to be perched on these rocks underneath a waterfall. And of course, I obliged, as one does when one is 17, swam across, crawled up those rocks, and then realized that the waterfall, when it pounds on you, it's like fists beating you into the ground. And so I stood there on these sharp rocks with the water like beating me. I couldn't really see the photographer. He was too far away. I was just hoping that I was doing a good job posing. He finally waved and said, "Okay, good, we're done." And I jumped off the rock to swim back to shore, and I realized I couldn't swim because it had taken all my strength to stand on those rocks. And so I was like, I couldn't swim across the lake. And so and nobody was paying attention to me. They were all like wrapping up their equipment to go back. So like, and I was like, help. And nobody paid any attention. And so I just remember that old trick, I guess, from swim school or something, where I just turned over on my back and I inflated my lungs and I just kind of let myself drift to shore. And when I actually arrived at shore, I passed out. So that was probably like the most physically harrowing moment.
Quick break to talk to all the shopaholics out there, all the online shoppers that have a ton of anxiety like me, wondering where your orders are, if they're going to arrive on time, if you're going to be home during the delivery. We have finally found something that completely eases that anxiety and keeps everything organized in one place, and it's called Route. It's a free app that tracks everything completely free, like I said, and all in one place. It's an absolute must-have, especially for the holiday season when everyone's shopping online, or hell, if you're like me and just shopping all year round anyway. Route pulls in all of your online orders on a map so you can easily stock your packages and see where they're at. Route also sends push notifications to your phone when your orders are on the move, so you'll never miss a delivery. No more hunting down packages, no more stressing out if they're going to be delivered, no more looking in 18 different places. So download the Route app for free and stay on track of your gifts this holiday season. You're going to wish you had this app sooner, trust me. As we continue to move more and more into the digital age, and as we continue to do more and more of our shopping online, this is a no-brainer. And like I said, it's completely free. So visit www.route.com/skinny to download Route and more information. That's www.route.com/skinny and try it now for free. Route.com/skinny. This is a no-brainer. And like I said, it's completely free. So visit www.route.com/skinny to download Route and more information. That's www.route.com/skinny and try it now for free. Route.com/skinny.
All right. If you're like me, you used to have one of those ugly, eyesore, disgusting, moldy humidifiers. And then I was introduced to Canopy. I loved Canopy humidifiers so much. Like, I was so obsessed with their mist-free hydration. It's invisible, it's clean moisture, and it's also good for your skin and your health while you're sleeping, allergies, all the things. That I actually launched a Skinny Confidential times Canopy humidifier. It is sold out right now. However, Canopy has the most beautiful white, sleek humidifiers. They are absolutely amazing. They're in every single room in my home, my office. I love them. They're so good for your skin, and I notice a difference if I don't sleep with one. The reason I like Canopy humidifier is because it has like this antimicrobial filter, and it catches irritating minerals, bacteria, and other nasty stuff from the water before it's evaporated into your environment. They really thought of everything and all the pain points of normal humidifiers and just like disrupted the space. The one that I would get is white. It's sleek, like I said. It's very modern. And then also definitely, while you're on their site, grab the Skinny Confidential times Canopy pink diffuser. So the diffuser is to let the scent come in your home. So this is going to make your home smell delicious. I handpicked, I must say, 3 aromas with them that are absolutely amazing. They really elevate your space, your office, your kids' room. They're pink, they're cute, they're little.
and they just smell so good. I'm really loving Get the Fuck to Sleep. It's an incense smell. I put it on in the morning. I put it on at night. It just makes my space smell delicious, but there's also 2 other scents, so definitely go on there. You're going to check out the Canopy humidifier and the diffuser. Go to getcanopy.co to save $25 on your Canopy humidifier purchase today with Canopy's filter subscription. Even better, use code SKINNY at checkout to save an additional 10% off your Canopy purchase. Your skin will thank you.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. One of the greatest lessons Lauren and I have learned hosting this show for almost 7 years is this. So many of the high performers and overachievers we have interviewed swear by therapy as one of their most powerful tools in their toolbox. We have had so many people come on the show and talk about how they have experienced breakthroughs or moved past trauma, or even just been able to work through a problem they were stuck on and get past it to come out the other side even better. We have even had multiple therapists on this show to discuss how they work with people to help them live their best lives. For the longest time, therapy has been so broken. You were limited to therapists in your area. You had to get in your car and drive over, find a therapist, interview them, see if they would even take you on as a client, wait in a waiting room, and then bare your soul hoping that it would be the right fit. And if it wasn't, that was just a big waste of time. Think of all that wasted time. This is why we love our partner, BetterHelp, so much. BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, helping millions connect with professionally licensed and vetted therapists, available 100% online. Plus, it's affordable. Now, instead of wasting all that time in person, you can utilize this incredible tool and platform all online from the comfort of your own home. It's amazing to be able to get so many people access to therapy. We really believe that it can change people's lives and have a massive impact on mental health for anyone who tries the platform. As the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists, available 100% online. Plus, it's affordable. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a therapist. If things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist anytime. It couldn't be simpler. No waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/skinny. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/skinny.
But I think people don't realize how hard, I know, and I don't know if I'm saying this eloquently, how hard it is to model at the scale that you were modeling there. I mean, I've read stories about, you know, you guys modeling with tigers or like what you just did. There's a lot of dangerous elements that go into it. And it's a lot of work contorting your body and holding your breath. And I mean, it seems like a lot of work. At what point did you realize that you had like leverage in this game and you had power and you could say no?
Not until I didn't need it anymore. So it wasn't until I met my husband. I think I got married and I started doing movies. And that's when I started thinking, you know what? I can kind of pick and choose what I want to do now. So I wasn't beholden to modeling for like my life to be making the money I was making. Like I could actually, you know, I had other options. So that was when I stopped feeling so obliging.
When you look at models now with social media, and you have experienced it in actuality, what is the biggest contrast and what are the similarities, if any?
You know what? Times really have changed, like enormously, enormously. I started in 1980, so that's like, what, 40 years ago? 42 years ago? Holy cow. And models were mostly coat hangers. You know, we were hired because we were of a certain size. We were a certain height and a certain size, 0 or 2, because every sample of clothing that was produced by the designers, there was only one outfit in one size, and 100 of us had to fit the same piece of clothing.
We just had Emily Diodato, I messed her name up, but she's a model, and she did some plus size model. And she said that was the difficulty, is they only made the clothing in the 1 or 2 sizes. She's like, hey, this is not a size for me, but that's just how they did all the clothing.
That's how it was done. And that is why we were models. It wasn't necessarily because we were so amazingly gorgeous. It's because we fit the clothing.
What is the pressure like to stay slim? I can only imagine.
You know what? I saw some of my friends have some really serious issues with staying slim because maybe they were naturally more athletic built or more voluptuously built, and those girls had trouble. And then there's those of us who are naturally slim. This is just what I look like. So it's like, so I was, it was good because I was that automatic size, but completely by accident. It's not like I did anything for it.
If you had a niece or a daughter or someone that was really close to you that came to you and said, I want to get into modeling, I want to go to Paris, just like you did at 15, what would you advise them? Would you tell them not to do it? Would you say, go do it and just run with it? What would your advice be?
I'm old enough to know that that my advice would not really be heard, because if somebody wants to go to Paris to try out to be a model, then that's what they're going to do. So I think my only advice would be to have a return ticket.
That's smart.
Because you have to experience what you want to experience. If that's what you want to do, it's like I can sit here and tell you all the pitfalls of modeling until I'm blue in the face, but it's a changed world. It's a different world, and you have to find out for yourself what your part of it is. And I'm sure there are women, girls, that were models that felt very differently about it than I do.
When you look back on everything you've accomplished, what's your most iconic moment, whether it's in acting or the modeling world?
It would be writing this book in 3 months.
That is not an easy feat. What was your routine like to write this book? Because are you up at 6 a.m.? How did you structure that? Because 3 months is a short period of time to write a book.
3 months is a really freaking short time to write a book.
Why do you think you were able to write it so quickly?
In part because it was a challenge to me, and I cannot resist a challenge. I think I'm like one of those Spanish bulls. You show them a red flag, and I'm going to go even if it kills me, which is a little sad. But I'm aware of it. I'm afraid I'm aware that this is a flaw that I have. So it was a challenge, and also I had my agent, Marley Rusoff, was really smart, and she said, "Look, this is an impossible task. You need somebody that they can read it and give you feedback as you write, because 3 months is impossible." So she recommended me this really lovely woman who is in her own right a published essayist, and so I would just And so my routine was this. I would get up, cup of morning coffee, and I would get on the line with Carrie, who was my reader, and she would have taken everything that I had sent her the night before, and she would critique it, and she would just slash into it without mercy. And she'd go, P, this beginning sucks. This essay is actually 3 separate essays. You need to pull it apart. This one has no ending. This one has no reason to exist. Keep moving. And so I kept moving. And then after our phone call, I would sit and I would write and write and write and write until my brain literally just turned off and I had no idea what I was doing anymore. And then I would watch some really bad Netflix show and repeat next day.
I mean, you did it in 3 months. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Since we're in New York, I have a question that I'm sure you've been asked before, but I have to know. Were you around New York in the studio 54 days?
That's a little bit before my time.
A little bit before your time.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was popular during your time? Like, what was the it spot?
Oh my God, the mid 80s were fantastic. We had Danceteria,
okay,
where Madonna was out like every night, literally dancing on the second floor. We had Area, the church turned into a nightclub, very sacrilegious and very fun. We had the Tunnel. There was a place called the Saint, I believe, which was a sort of an all-gay club, which we models would go to because we could just dance and not be hassled, which was kind of great. Those were, and this place called Heartbreak, which was like somewhere in the Lower East Side, and it just like played more rock and roll and had really cheap drinks. And it had like the cool people, the ones that weren't like disco hounds, that were like a little bit more gritty.
When you're this well known and people recognize your face and your face is everywhere, you mentioned not getting hassled. Were you hassled a lot back in the day when like everyone is just like they don't have social media, so they don't have access to you all the time?
Okay, so look, from 15 to I was on my first Sports Illustrated cover when I was 18.
It's young.
Very.
Yeah, well, I was in the first Sports Illustrated when I was 17, but that was Cheryl Teague's on the cover. And so the following year, I was on the cover. I'm 18, and that was the first time. I had already had like 100 covers before that. But nobody, like, the way you look on a cover and the way you look in real life without any makeup, it's just like people don't notice you. You can go unnoticed if you don't make a point of being noticed. So it wasn't until the first Sports Illustrated cover came out that my face was put together with my name, and all of a sudden people started knowing me. And I was on Johnny Carson when Johnny Carson was still around. I was, on the talk shows on David Letterman and suddenly interviews. And this is when I started becoming known as I guess supermodel is what they call it these days. And that's where the loss of privacy came in a little bit. But then I met my husband at 19, who was a huge rock star, and the loss of privacy was complete.
And what was it like when you met your husband?
It was magical.
Was it chemistry right away?
Well, I had a crush on him before I ever even met him because I saw his video on MTV. MTV had literally just come out. It's like 1984. And I was alone at home one night, and I was watching MTV. And I saw this video, and I just thought, I was transfixed by this man on the screen. I just thought he was so beautiful. There was something about him that really spoke to me. He looked sort of vaguely alien. Also, you have to understand that my early childhood crushes were Julius Caesar and Mr. Spock from Star Trek. So this guy was like it. It was like the perfect man for me. I thought, oh my God, he's so gorgeous. And he had these turquoise eyes and this black hair, and he seemed really tall and lanky, and I just thought he was amazing. And then a couple of months later, I got called in to go and audition for a video for a band called The Cars. But I had no connection between this guy that I saw, it was his solo video, and the band called The Cars. It wasn't American. I had never heard of The Cars. I didn't know. So I went to audition for the video, mostly because Timothy Hutton was directing it, and I had heard of Timothy Hutton, and I was like, oh, he's cute. So I went to audition for the part for the video. I got the part in the video, and then the band wanted to take me out to dinner before the video
I'm sure
began.
they did.
Funny, nobody kind of told me that wasn't actually normally done. I was like, oh, okay, this is how videos go, right? You take the woman out for dinner. But the whole band took me out for dinner with the manager, and we were sitting in this hotel room, and everybody was sitting around the table, and I was kind of looking around, and I was like, they're all kind of old. They're like all in their 30s or whatever. I'm like 19, and we're just sitting there waiting. And I go, well, are we waiting for something? Because I was hungry. And one of the guys said, oh, yeah, we were waiting for Rick. He's in the other room. And then the door opened, and then that man of the video that I had seen on MTV walked out, and I started hyperventilating. I was just like, expletive.
Lauren, why don't you explain? Why don't you say this when I walk into a room?
I didn't say that when you walked into the room. So did he notice that you were hyperventilating, or did he start hyperventilating over you?
He was kind of like an odd bird, He was really tall and lanky. He was 6'4", and he had this sort of elegant, slightly awkward grace about him. The way he walked towards me, and he just sat. I was sitting actually on the floor next to a couch, and he just folded up next to me, and he just stared at me like this. And he said, "Hello," and I was like, I am gonna pass out. So this is a problem because I'm actually going to pass out. And so I thought, okay, it's going to happen, so I better prepare them. And I was like, I'm really sorry, you guys. I'm just super nervous, and I might pass out. And if I do, it's not a big deal. It's just I have some anxiety.
Wait a minute. You're telling me this man had so much charm that he almost made you pass out just for saying hello?
Yeah.
Lauren, come on.
I mean,
yeah, you mean if you didn't get that, I'd call this a dud.
Yeah,
I'd call it a dud too, Michael. And you're not tall and lanky and elegant. Sorry.
Oh my God, we've only got 2 kids, and we've only known each other for 25 years, and now call it off.
No.
Cancel this.
What is it like being one of the most famous supermodels in the world and dating this famous musician? Is it everything that we could imagine and more, or is it different in reality?
Well, because these are the things that people on the outside glamorize, right?
Yeah. Yeah, what really happens here, and this is an essay in my book that I feel very fondly about because I'm trying to describe to you what it's like to be famous. Being famous is like you're encased in a soap bubble, right? First of all, you're kind of isolated from everything outside your soap bubble. And secondly, when somebody looks at you, what they first see is their own reflection in the bubble before they see you.
Wow.
So when people look at a celebrity, it's with their own assumptions, their likes, their dislikes. It's their projections onto you.
That is one of the most eloquent things I've ever heard about fame. That's very interesting.
Thank you.
So when you're out with your musician husband, you're a famous supermodel, you felt like people were projecting their own things onto
absolutely.
you guys.
And when we were separate, we were both in our own bubble. And my bubble was slightly bigger than his because I could not put on makeup and put on my glasses and nobody would give a, I don't know if I can swear on this program or not, would give a fuck. But my husband was he was so obvious. I mean, he looked like an upside down exclamation mark. I always thought that. I always wanted to draw him as that because I thought it was hilarious.
An upside down explanation.
Yeah. He was always dressed in black hair. He was really slim. Turn him upside down, it's an exclamation mark. So he had a much smaller bubble than I did. And when I was with him, I got sucked into his tiny little bubble, which meant that our world got really small. We were really very isolated. This is why famous people are drawn to other famous people because you can merge, the soap bubble merge, just like real soap bubbles in the bathtub when you're doing them with the kids. You can put two bubbles together and they kind of create a weird little tunnel. It's like that with the celebrity bubbles. So it's easier to interact because you're not looking at each other with that reflective surface. So being famous, being a celebrity is really isolating. It's really lonely.
Yeah, we do. Obviously we've done this a long time. We've had all sorts of different levels of fame on the show. And I think that is a common theme where people, a lot of times it's something that people think they want, but mostly people that come on and talk about it, they talk about it being lonely and isolating and sometimes a burden. It's not that you're not grateful for the opportunity, but your life gets altered in a way where it's like, you're looked at it as a spectacle in a way. And people, obviously they're putting their own perceptions and their own judgments, and they're almost looking at you not as another human being.
Which is why I always said, I felt when I was the most seen, I was the least heard. And the more you saw of me, the less you actually knew of me. Because being a celebrity, being in that bubble makes it impossible for you to be known as a human being. And guess what? Underneath it all, we are all human beings. Whether we are making money one way or the other way, making little of it or much of it, we still bleed when we're cut. I mean, that makes no difference. But certain people are comfortable within their bubbles. Like my husband was very good with just sort of living inside this rarefied world. Because if you are a celebrity and you have the money, then you make your bubble inside really nice,
There's something that sounds it sounds melancholy about being famous. There's a sadness about it. And I don't know if it's the isolation or there's something that sounds blue.
Yeah. I feel like my fame prevented me from being able to connect to the world and to people, which is really genuinely what I enjoy the most.
But look at what you're doing now.
Well, I get to connect now.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about your one-stop shop for everything wellness, okay? This is Alomoves. They have yoga, they have mindfulness, they have bar, Pilates, cardio, HIIT classes, even self-care. You guys, they have gua sha and dry brushing tutorials. They have face yoga, which I'm very much about, nutrition classes, all the things. They even have meditation, 5-minute meditation. I am such a big fan of meditation, and this is so amazing to have all of this in one place. With over 3,000 classes for every level and 100 new classes every month, they always have fresh content. So here's the deal. They're doing a huge sale. What's better than a half off sale? How about a 60% off sale? I've been using Alomoves to help me incorporate more feel-good movement and mindfulness into my day, and it is a game changer. So Alomoves is the streaming on-demand platform with yoga, fitness, meditation classes. It's by one of my favorite brands. I love Alo Yoga. You know you're getting quality studio style sessions, and it's just so easy to like do one of their 5-minute meditations after you do a yoga class. It's very much habit stacking. This time of year is always a time to reflect on personal goals and changes, and using Alomoves can absolutely help with that. So right now our listeners get 30 days for free when you use code SKINNY30. And if you love it like I do, you can take 60% off your first year. This is such a nice way to start the new year. Definitely get started now with 30 days for free with code SKINNY30. Join me at Alomoves, that's ALOmoves.com, and get 30 days for free when you use the code SKINNY30. Then if you're loving it like I am, you get 60% off your annual membership, all with code SKINNY30. Don't miss their biggest sale ever. Go to alomoves.com and let's get started. All right, I am all about easy access in my house when it comes to my kitchen. I want my daughter to be able to open the fridge, my husband, anyone who works for us to be able to open the fridge and see snacks. So we have like these really cute acrylic holders, and in one of them is stocked with perfect snacks. We are obsessed with their dark chocolate chip peanut butter with sea salt. I'm telling you, the move is to like chop it up into little pieces and then put them, like make them into little balls and then put them out on the table, and you can just have like a little protein bite. It's so good. Perfect Bar contains up to 17 grams of protein per bar. So have them in your fridge ready to go. You can cut them up, make them into little balls for your kids, carry them in your handbag, whatever. The flavors that I like, if I was going to choose 3, are the salted caramel, the coconut peanut butter, and then obviously you got to get this one, the dark chocolate chip peanut butter. It's so good. You should know they're all made with whole food ingredients. They contain no artificial preservatives, and it's stored in the fridge. So grab one after your workout, throw in your handbag, have it when you travel, and make sure you have these on hand if you have a hypoglycemic significant other like I do. They're also all non-GMO, project verified, gluten-free, soy-free, kosher, and low GI. And guess what? Perfect Bar knows it will be love at first bite. So for a limited time, they're offering you a chance to try their refrigerated protein bars for free. Okay, here's how it works. You sign up for emails or texts and you upload a picture of your receipt from a local grocery store, and they'll reimburse you the cost of 1 bar directly to your Venmo or PayPal account. I mean, this is so cool, right? All you have to do is go to perfectsnacks.com/skinny to get a free Perfect Bar today. That's perfectsnacks.com/skinny to get a free Perfect Bar today. Happy snacking.
I was walking around the other day and I got stopped by someone and they said, "Oh my God, it's Michael. And look how great you look. Look how radiant you are. Look at your eyes. No more under eye circles. Wow, you look so energized. Wow, you look so fit. Wow, you must be taking the right supplements. Wow, you must have the right vitamins." Actually, that never happened, but I'm assuming most of the people that I walk by are thinking that. And maybe they don't even know that it's me, but they're just thinking, wow, that guy looks like all those things I just described. And here's why. I am taking AG1 athletic greens every single day. It is absolutely critical to my wellness routine. And we've been talking about this platform and this product for a long time. If we were only going to be able to prescribe one thing and recommend one thing when it comes to our wellness, it would definitely be athletic greens. And here's why. It's your prebiotic, it's your probiotic, it's your adaptogens, it's 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, and more. And it's all in one simple green powder. If you're going to be struggling with vegetables like I do and you still want to get your greens, this is definitely a product to try. And like I said, it packs so much in one scoop. Here's the way I take it. I wake up every single morning, I have a heaping glass of water, and I dump a large scoop of athletic greens. I take it when I travel, I take it when I'm home. I don't miss a day. I have it every single day, and it's been an absolute game changer. And like I said, it's super simple, tastes great, and just goes right in your water. It's also going to support healthy gut, your nervous system, your immune system, your recovery, your focus, aging, all of these things. It's almost too good to be true. And of course, we have an offer for you. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packets with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/skinny. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/skinny to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. athleticgreens.com/skinny. And
why
do you
that's
feel,
why you were so excited to write a book in 3 months, though, because this was like freeing and liberating for you.
And at the time, though, why did you feel, I mean, from the outside, you can understand why, but why do you feel like now is different?
Because I have wrinkles on my face and because I look 57, and that somehow apparently humanizes me enough so that people don't just see me as a paper doll anymore.
But to me, there would be, from everything that you're telling me, there would be something like very relaxing about getting to 57 and being able to tell your story on your own terms without anyone micromanaging you and telling you how to move your body and where to stand.
No, it's not relaxing. It's empowering.
Empowering.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I've never felt more powerful than I do now.
That is really crazy and cool to hear from one of the world's top supermodels. Like, that's cool that you feel more empowered at 57.
Absolutely.
So at what point did you decide that you were going to take the narrative into your own hands and write this book and empower yourself? Where was the epiphany in all of this?
I wish that I could tell you that I've had epiphanies, but everything in my life seems to happen sort of haphazardly. It's things happen to me. Look, my marriage started dying when I was turning 50. I started becoming invisible to my husband. I started becoming invisible in society at large as an aging woman. And I had no idea what to do with that information. It's like I was losing my identity as a wife and as a model and as everything. And I had no idea which way to turn. I had no idea what to do. And I thought, okay, well, so okay, so I'll write. I'll try to write another novel. That's the only thing I can do. And then my husband died, and that's when my life went to shit. And there was the tragedy of his death, the trauma of finding him dead.
You personally found him?
I've personally found him. I went to get him his morning cup of coffee because I was taking care of him. He just had surgery, and we were separated at this point. We were divorcing,
but still, there's love
as best friends.
Sure.
We
Right.
still lived in the same house. We still went to dinners together and parties together, but as two single people. I thought we had found the perfect solution to the end of our marriage, and then he died, and I found him, and then maybe 2 days later, I found out that he had cut me off in his will, cut me out of his will, claiming that I had abandoned him, which was a lie. And so all of this stacked on top of each other was, it was a lot. It was kind of too much for me to process all at one time, and I was drowning. I was literally just drowning in pain. And then COVID came up, and I had to sell my house, and prices in New York had gone off the cliff, and I had to sell, and I had to sell at a huge loss, and this was the only money I had was in the house. So like things sucked. And then so all of that sort of served to it felt like somebody had handed me a hand grenade and it blew up my entire life as I knew it.
When you're taking care of your husband and you're bringing him coffee in bed and he passes away, and then you find out that he's cut you out of your will, that's betrayal. A lot, like, it's got to feel.
Yes.
Did you feel like you were angry? It's hard to be angry at someone who's died, but was there an anger there? Or did you just feel freedom that he had gone?
Oh my God, freedom. I spent 35 years with this man. He was the most important person in my life. He was my North Star. His death was the end of me as I knew me. And then his betrayal was an end of everything I had learned and believed. The fact that I believed that he loved me like I loved him, and that we had 35 years of love, that it put a complete, it turned that into sort of a farce. Like, oh yeah, that was just in my imagination. He didn't see it the same way.
Was there an incident or a set of incidents that kind of maybe set him off or angered him for him to do that?
If there were, he didn't tell me.
Maybe he felt like the divorce. Maybe that's what he just felt with the divorce.
Look, one can make all kinds of assumptions. The problem is they will never be answered, and he did not let me in on any of it. He just smiled and acted as though we were best friends and everything was great. So
this is a personal question. So if you can look back on this 35 with such fondness, but then this happens, how do you now look back on that time with him? Because obviously it sounds like this was the majority of your life.
Yeah, it was my entire life. Look, it's 3 years now since my husband passed. And I think I was sort of insane for the first year. But I honestly don't remember large parts of the first year because I was kind of flipping between grief and anger. When I was angry, I would be angry, and then when I stopped being angry, I would be grieving. So it was like there was no light. It was just a shit show all the way around. And then as I started I feel like I started swimming towards the shore. Year 2, slowly and painfully. And it's like, yes, now it's 3 years later, and I will never get my answers. This is not going to happen. I will never know why he did this. I will never know what was in his mind. I don't know if it was bad advice from his lawyers, if it was a temporary thing, if he just messed up. And so all I can make out of it is a choice on how I'm going to see it. And I'm choosing to see it as almost a crime of passion. That because I do know that when you no longer love somebody, you just walk away. And I think being vindictive means you still care. So I'm taking that as he still cared. He couldn't somehow let me know. He didn't know how. But this came from a place of misplaced love. And so that's how I'm going to think about it.
You mentioned when you got with him that the bubbles merged together. With him gone, you're in your own bubble, but it feels like you've popped the bubble with this book. It feels like you're sharing your stories and you're escaping the bubble, and there's no more isolation for you. It feels like you're sharing these stories with the world. Is this like a real moment for you where you can, I mean, this should be like a liberating moment, I would think.
Absolutely. It absolutely is. But it started with my Instagram, where I sort of took to when I was in the deepest grief and I was losing my mind, and I posted some videos of myself sobbing, which in retrospect are pretty hard to watch.
Was that the first stuff you started posting?
No, I mean, I posted like random stuff before my husband's death. I was just like, oh, hello, here I am wearing this and, here holding a broom, whatever, just normal life stuff. After my husband's death, I just went all out, kind of just let my heart hang out because I was so lonely and I was so sad and I was drowning. And I wanted to see if I could connect to somebody, anybody. It was COVID too. It's like my friends were in trouble. Their parents were dying. It's like, and I was so isolated. So I reached out on Instagram and people held me. People came and held my hand.
I remember when this happened, you almost went viral too, I think, because you broke through. When you look at a supermodel, you think they have the perfect life. Mm-hmm. You think, oh, if someone's beautiful, they have the perfect life. They have everything going for them. And I think for you to get on there and be real with what you were going through was like such a moment on social media too.
It humanized.
It humanized. Yeah. And I think that this book is like an extension of that for you.
Well, once I got humanized a little bit on Instagram, it sort of started opening my world out. Yes, like people are listening to me. They're not just looking at me. They're actually listening to what I say. And my Instagram posts are often, they're just pictures to say, hey, come this way. And then there's text to bring you into how I feel, what I'm thinking about. And the book is an extension of that. Yeah.
Sounds like your life has really come full circle though.
Not quite yet. Things I'm still working out.
Well, the book, I mean, I think is a beautiful thing for you. Where can everyone find your book? Where can they come see you? How can they support what you're doing?
You can buy the book hopefully in any bookstore in the United States or order it from your favorite bookstore. It's certainly on Amazon. I recorded an audio version of it with my voice. It's on Kindle. So it's everywhere where books are. My book can be found.
And what's your Instagram?
And my Instagram is Paulina Poriskova. Leave off the A. I don't know why.
Somebody stole
Too long for somebody leave off the A for extra savings. That's my handle, and that's where I am. And I try to read all the comments every day of the people that are there with me, because they've stuck by me and they've held my hand, and sometimes I've held theirs. I've actually made like real life friends from Instagram. It's amazing. It's like the world is such a beautiful big place if you just look around.
Paulina, thank you for coming on. I know your book is going to absolutely crush it. And you guys go follow Paulina on Instagram with no A.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.